Hi guys, I wanted to get on here today and do sort of a different video because I mostly do tea reviews and stuff. But I wanted to do a book review, and the book I'm reviewing today is The Devil Crept In by Ania Ahlborn. This book was absolutely horrifying. What this book is about is, I'll read the back of it. Young Jude Brighton has gone missing, and while the search for him is in full swing here in the small town of Deer Valley, Oregon, the locals are starting to lose hope. They're well aware that the first 48 hours are critical, and after that, the odds usually point to a worst-case scenario. And despite Stevie Clark's youth, he knows that too. He's seen the cop shows. He knows what each ticking moment may mean for Jude, his cousin, and his best friend. It's like the stories from years ago of that boy, Max Larson, who was found dead after also disappearing under mysterious circumstances. And then there were the animals, pets gone missing out of yards. For years, the residents of Deer Valley have either murmured about or tried very hard not to talk of these unsolved crimes, or that a killer may still possibly be lurking around their quiet town. Now, fear is reborn, and for Stevie, who is determined to find out what really happened to Jude, the awful truth may be too horrifying to imagine. Let me start by saying, this book, not what I expected at all, but it was amazing. This book just has so many elements that make it a fantastic read. It's got of course, the missing persons element. It's got backstory elements. It's got family elements. It's got horror elements. It's got so many horror elements, and it's just, there's so much that makes this book horrifying. This is one of the most unsettling books I've read in a long time. And honestly, I think this one takes the cake for the scariest book I have ever read. And it has been a very long time since a book has actually freaked me out. But this one definitely takes the cake. But basically, this book is just, it's horrifying. It does start out very, very slow, but the storyline and the plot kept me interested enough to read on, and I'm glad I did, because I was so enthralled with this book by like page 100 that I just could not put it down. And there were certain parts of the book where I had to put it down because I was reading at night, and it's that terrifying, and it's that unsettling, and it's that creepy, and it's that just absolutely horrifying. This is the first book I have read by this author, and I will definitely be reading more of her books, especially if it is that terrifying, because I was so happy to find a book that finally freaked me out and finally unsettled me so much that I couldn't read it at night, because that doesn't happen often with me, because I don't scare easily when it comes to books. So I was very happy to find this one. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of things that I can say about the book without spoiling it on accident. But it is just amazing. It is so good. And it's just, while it is completely terrifying, it's also a very, very, very interesting read. And I just found that I was just reading and reading and reading. I kept turning the page. It's definitely a page turner, for sure. And I love it. I loved it. It was so good. And this, I feel like, is one of those underrated horror books, because I have never heard anyone talk about this author before. And the only reason I even know about her is because I was just kind of at my library looking at the new fiction books, and I saw this one, and I read the back of it. I liked the cover. The title was creepy, so I picked it up, and I was thoroughly impressed with this read. It was amazing. I do recommend this, but if you have a weak stomach or you are faint-hearted, I would read this one with caution, because it does get very gruesome and I guess gory. I feel like it's kind of hard for a book to be called gory, because when you think gory, you think of like visuals and stuff, but this book was very gruesome and I guess gory at times, and it was very unsettling. This book definitely had me looking over my shoulder and like jumping at every noise, and just, it's a good book. Very unsettling, very, very creepy. I don't scare easily when it comes to books, and this book had me terrified. There were definitely some cringy parts, and when I say cringy, I mean like good cringy, I guess. But there was definitely some cringe-worthy parts in it that were just like, oh my god, like, if I could hide my eyes, I would have, but you can't do that with a book. It's not like a movie. You can't just like hide behind your hand, like hide behind something and wait for it to be over. You have to read it, because it's an important part of the story, but at the same time I was like, no, 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 no. But yeah, I highly recommend this book. It was amazing, but like I said, read it with caution, because it's absolutely terrifying. I will say this, I don't know if this is a spoiler, I really hope it's not. The main character is a very unreliable narrator, and I absolutely adore unreliable narrators in horror stories. I feel like they just add so much depth and character to the story that you wouldn't get otherwise, because you don't know what's going on. You don't know if it's something that's really happening, or if you don't know if it's something he's imagining, and it just adds so much depth and character to a horror story. So I was very happy that this novel had an unreliable narrator, who is also very young. The main character is only 10 years old. And again, I like young narrators in horror stories who are also unreliable narrators as well, because I feel like it just adds a lot of depth and character that you would not get with an older narrator who is a reliable narrator. So I hope that wasn't a spoiler. I don't think it was, honestly. I mean, because you kind of do learn early on that he is young and an unreliable narrator. So I don't think that was a spoiler. I really hope that wasn't a spoiler. I don't know. But yeah. Wonderful book. I loved it. Very, 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 very terrifying. Like, if I had to rate it on a scare factor of like 1 to 10, 10 being the scariest possible thing ever, it shatters that scale into a million pieces. But yeah, that was my review for The Devil Crept In. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will answer them. And if you want to see more book reviews on this channel, let me know, because I had done them at one point in time and I stopped doing them for some reason. I don't know why. The next book I'll probably review will probably be Lord of Shadows. Of course, that will be spoiler-free because that is a relatively new book. I will try to keep every single one of my reviews spoiler-free, for sure. So, yeah. Bye, guys.